Can Ukraine win the war against Russia? A question that has been pondered by many. To answer this, we need to delve into the military strengths and strategies of both nations. In terms of power balance, Russia and Ukraine present a complex equation. Russia's war on Ukraine, interestingly, only costs the country roughly 3% of its GDP, or around $67 billion annually. This relatively low expenditure, compared to historical conflicts, is due to the government's characterization of the war as a special military operation. This strategic positioning, coupled with economic concerns, has limited Russia's spending. Furthermore, the advent of advanced military technology has reduced the need for extensive resources, thus optimizing warfare costs. On the other side of the battlefield, Ukraine has displayed a commendable level of resistance. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, the Ukrainian forces have managed to inflict significant damages on their Russian counterparts. The cost of the war in Ukraine has not just been in terms of human lives, but also in damaged or destroyed vehicles. In a span of mere weeks, Russia lost almost as many vehicles as Ukraine did over the course of several months. But the dynamics of war extend beyond the battlefield. Global sanctions have been imposed on Russia, affecting its economy and energy sector. While these sanctions may not directly impact the front lines, they certainly add an additional layer of complexity to the overall power balance. The human cost of this war has been staggering for both sides. Russia has reported approximately 120,000 military deaths and up to 180,000 injuries. Ukraine, on the other hand, has suffered around 70,000 deaths and 120,000 wounded. As we can see, the power balance is not purely a numbers game, but also one of strategy and resource allocation. The outcome of this conflict is not just about who has the most soldiers or the biggest guns, but also about who can best manage their resources and devise the most effective strategies. Now let's dive into the strategies that have been employed by both nations in this conflict. In the chessboard of war, each move carries weight. In eastern Ukraine, Russia's offensive near Avdiivka has been a significant gambit. The cost? A staggering 197 vehicles damaged or destroyed in a mere 3-week span. This rapid attrition rate has outpaced Ukraine's losses, which amounted to slightly over 200 vehicles over 4 to 5 months in southern Ukraine. But why Avdiivka? Well, the city holds strategic importance. By pushing Ukraine back from this location, Russia can potentially establish secure supply routes and fortify its position in Donetsk. Some argue that the offensive also serves a political purpose, allowing Russian President Vladimir Putin to demonstrate control and leadership ahead of the 2024 presidential election. However, the Ukrainian forces have not been idle spectators. Despite facing a technologically superior adversary, they've held their ground with tenacity. The Ukrainian resistance has been instrumental in slowing down Russian advances, inflicting considerable losses on the Russian side. Their defense tactics have ranged from deep trenches to the use of lethal weapons. The human cost has been high for Russia, with casualties mounting due to what some analysts term as human wave tactics. This entails sending in inexperienced troops into the fray, often leading to high mortality rates. On the other hand, Ukraine has faced its share of challenges. Despite breaking through Russia's defenses occasionally, the slow rollout of Western weapons support has been a stumbling block, yet their resilience has proved to be a significant factor in this conflict. So, while Russia may have a technological edge, Ukraine's strategic defenses and determination have proven to be formidable. The cost of war is not just financial, it's also measured in lives lost and infrastructure destroyed. When we take a deep dive into the human cost of the conflict between Ukraine and Russia, we see staggering figures. Russia has experienced approximately 120,000 military deaths, while Ukraine has suffered around 70,000. In addition to these fatalities, the number of injuries is also immense. Russia has reported up to 180,000 injuries, while Ukraine has seen around 120,000 of its soldiers wounded. These figures are not just numbers, but represent the lives of individuals, sons, fathers, brothers, and friends. Each casualty sends ripples of grief and loss through families and communities, a cost that can never truly be quantified. But the cost of war isn't solely human, it also wreaks havoc on economies. For instance, Russia's war on Ukraine is costing it approximately 3% of its gross domestic product, which translates to around $67 billion annually. This might seem relatively low when compared to historical conflicts, but it's still a significant strain on the Russian economy. Moreover, this conflict has led to significant global sanctions on Russia, impacting its economy and energy sector. These sanctions are a form of economic warfare designed to further burden Russia's already strained resources. While advanced military technology has reduced the need for extensive resources, it's clear that the financial cost of this war is hefty. On the other hand, Ukraine's economy has also been deeply affected by the war. While exact figures are hard to come by, the extensive damage to infrastructure, loss of productivity, and the cost of military operations are all hitting their economy hard. In essence, the war is a drain on both nations' resources, leading to economic instability and uncertainty. It's a grim reminder of the far-reaching consequences of conflict beyond the battlefield. The toll of this conflict, both human and economic, is immense and continues to rise. As the war drags on, we've seen the evolution of warfare tactics on both sides. The Russian side, in particular, has shown marked adaptability. Facing strategic mistakes and a tenacious Ukrainian resistance, Russia has had to rethink its approach to the conflict. One of the most significant shifts has been the implementation of deep trenches. These trenches serve as a formidable defense, making it difficult for the Ukrainian forces to make headway. But trenches are not the only adaptation. Russia has also turned to technology, employing cheap drones for surveillance and attack. These unmanned aircraft provide a bird's-eye view of the battlefield, allowing for more precise strikes and better strategic planning. They also keep Russian soldiers out of direct harm's way, reducing the risk of casualties. Perhaps the most notable change, however, has been Russia's shift towards a more efficient war machine. In the face of a slow rollout of Western weapons support, Russia has had to become more resourceful. Despite economic constraints and global sanctions, Moscow has managed to sustain a steady production of artillery shells, fueling the ongoing conflict. Yet despite these tactical adaptations, Ukraine has not been idle. The Ukrainian forces have shown remarkable resilience, managing to break through Russia's defenses. Their victories are testament to their determination, their strategic acumen, and their unwavering commitment to reclaiming their homeland. This constant evolution of warfare tactics is a stark reminder of the relentless pursuit of victory. Both sides are continually adapting, innovating, and pushing the boundaries of conventional warfare. They're using every tool at their disposal, every strategy they can think of, to gain the upper hand in this grueling conflict. The evolution of warfare tactics on both sides demonstrates a relentless pursuit of victory, despite the heavy costs. So, can Ukraine win the war against Russia? It's a complex question with no easy answers. Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've discussed so far. We've examined the military strengths of both nations, and there is no doubt that Russia holds the upper hand in terms of sheer power and resources. However, we've also seen that Ukraine has been able to mount a strong defense, using strategic tactics and capitalizing on their intimate knowledge of their homeland. We've delved into the economic and human cost of the war. It's clear that both nations are paying a heavy price. Russia's war on Ukraine has been costing it approximately 3% of its GDP annually, and the global sanctions have had a significant impact on Russia's economy. On the human front, casualties have been high on both sides, with Russia experiencing approximately 120,000 military deaths and up to 180,000 injuries, while Ukraine has suffered around 70,000 deaths and 120,000 wounded. We've also looked at the evolution of warfare tactics, from the use of traditional military might to more modern strategies involving advanced technology and equipment. Russia has been able to leverage these to their advantage, but Ukraine has also shown an ability to adapt and innovate under pressure. However, the outcome of the war is not only determined by military strength and strategy. There are other factors at play. International support, both in terms of sanctions against Russia and aid for Ukraine, is crucial. Economic pressures, both domestic and international, could also influence the course of the conflict. Perhaps the most important factor, though, is the determination of the Ukrainian people. Their resilience and will to defend their homeland have been truly remarkable, and could well be the deciding factor in this conflict. While the future remains uncertain, one thing is clear: the resilience of the Ukrainian people and their will to defend their homeland should not be underestimated.